The tunnel shook, not from the aftermath of Kael's awakening, but from something deeper, something older. Far below, deeper than even the Veil's most secret laboratories, sealed vaults trembled. Vaults that had not been opened in thousands of years, not since the Starborne themselves locked them away. Above, Kael's heightened senses twitched. A low-frequency hum, like the song of tectonic plates grinding, vibrated through his bones. His pupils flared into narrow slits. His claws itched. Lira felt it too. Her skin prickled with static, but more than that, a pulling sensation, as if some forgotten part of her recognized the frequency and whispered, "Awaken." "What is that?" she whispered, clutching his arm. Kael scanned the darkness, jaw tense. Not good. A sudden boom. The floor beneath them shifted. A fine web of cracks raced through the concrete. Kael grabbed her waist, hoisting her effortlessly. "Move. Now." They sprinted. The air behind them shimmered, not with heat, but with a gravitational distortion. Lights bent. Shadows twisted unnaturally. And then, the roar. Not mechanical. Not animal. Something wrong. Deep within the Veil's Omega complex, a chamber labeled Vault Prime, forbidden. Level Sigma EX flared with emergency glyphs. Locks that had held for millennia, locks built with technology far beyond Earth's understanding, failed one by one. Monitors showed streams of alien code, glitching between mathematical formulas and incomprehensible symbols that warped reality just by being read. Inside, a sarcophagus, not of stone nor metal, but of something that flickered between states, sometimes solid, sometimes fluid, sometimes seemingly absent from existence entirely. Within it, a shape stirred, a silhouette with elongated limbs. Armored scales not like Kael's, darker, more ancient, etched with pulsating glyphs. A crown of bone and spines rose from a skull-like head. Eyes, if they were eyes, snapped open. Black, bottomless, starless. Xenogenesis directive activated. A voice, not spoken, transmitted directly into minds. Starborne contamination detected. Deploying custodian. Above, in the fractured tunnels, Kael and Lira emerged into a ruined industrial site, lit only by the broken glow of security floodlights and the flickering fires left by earlier battles. Lira stumbled, breathing hard, her hands trembling but gripping Kael's clawed hand tightly. Kael, I feel something watching us. Not human, not machine, something worse. Kael growled low, scanning the horizon. It's the custodian, the last defense of the first ones. A being designed to erase contamination. Contamination, like you, like me. He nodded grimly. Anything that shouldn't exist outside the genetic plan of the Starborne. Hybrids, mutations, evolutionary accidents. His voice darkened. All miracles. Suddenly, the sky tore open. Not literally, but it seemed so. Space folded. A ripple of gravitational distortion warped the air. Out of the fold stepped a figure, 7 feet tall, armored in iridescent plates of matter that flickered between dimensions. Its face was a smooth mask of obsidian, save for twin vertical slits glowing with white fire. Its voice did not vibrate air. It vibrated minds. Designated entities, X-17 and Code B carrier. You are in violation of the Genesis mandate. Prepare for dissolution. Kael stepped forward, shielding Lira with his body. His claws extended. His muscles tensed. His bioelectric field sparked like a living storm. You'll have to try. The custodian moved faster than physics should allow. One instant it stood meters away. The next, its fist struck Kael with a force that sent him flying backwards through a concrete wall. Lira screamed. But before she could move, a ripple of telekinetic force hurled her against a metal container. Her vision blurred. Her ears rang. Kael rose, Slowly, blood, darker now, infused with bioelectric charge, dripped from his mouth. His eyes narrowed. Lira, stay down. He charged. His claws struck the custodian's chest, sending arcs of plasma flying. The creature staggered, not from pain, but from surprise. Its protocols had not anticipated that this hybrid was no longer unstable. Kael's upgraded genome, harmonized through his bond with Lira, was no longer vulnerable. It was beyond design parameters. The battle that followed shattered the world around them. Concrete disintegrated, metal melted, the very ground fractured under the shockwaves. Kael fought like an apex predator, speed, strength, intelligence, but now enhanced by something deeper. The genetic memory of the Starborne flowing through him via Lira. But it wasn't enough. The custodian adapted. Its body reconfigured, phasing between dimensions. Physical attacks passed through it. Energy blasts reflected. It raised an arm, summoning a spear of dark matter, aimed directly at Kael's heart. And then, Lira screamed. Not a scream of fear. A command. The glyphs burned into her skin, symbols of the Starborne. Her arms raised instinctively. From her palms burst light. Pure, fractal, harmonic light that struck the custodian mid-charge. The creature reeled, circuits glitching, form flickering. Kael didn't waste the opening. With a roar, he leapt, claws extended, and drove them deep into the custodian's chest. A rupture, a cascade failure. The creature convulsed, shrieked, not in sound, but in a frequency that shattered glass for miles. It collapsed. Its body disintegrated into a storm of golden dust, fading into the stars. Kael collapsed onto one knee, panting. Lira rushed to him, grabbing his shoulders. "Kael, are you?" He looked up at her, smiled, blooded but alive. "I'm still here." She wrapped her arms around him. What even are we now?" Kael pulled her close, resting his forehead, scaled and warm, against hers. "We are what they tried to prevent. We are the future, a future they were terrified of." Above them, the stars shone, unknowing. But far beyond those stars, other eyes had opened, watching, waiting. This was no longer just about survival. This was about changing the fate of two species. Together, the fires had died. The ground still steamed with the aftermath of battle. Scorched metal, fractured concrete, and traces of the custodian's disintegrated form glowed faintly like starlight trapped in dust. Kael sat with his back against the ruined skeleton of a support pillar, his scaled arm draped protectively around Lira's shoulders. Both of them were battered, bruised, their bodies humming with residual energy, but they were alive. Barely. Above them, the sky was different. The stars, wrong, distorted, as if something vast, ancient, and observing had shifted position. Kael's eyes, slit-pupilled and golden, scanned the heavens. "They've noticed us." Lira followed his gaze. "Who?" Her voice was soft but strained, her hands still pressed against the pulse in her neck that refused to slow. He turned to her, expression darker than the void. "The architects, the Starborne, the ones who seeded this planet, and countless others, and the ones who abandoned it when things evolved beyond their control." Lira tilted her head, confusion flashing across her face. "You mean, they're real? The ancient alien gods, all those conspiracy theories, the whispers about reptilians, greys, the tall Nords." Kael nodded slowly. "All true, and all incomplete." He shifted, pulling a data module from the ruined remains of the custodian's body, a crystalline shard embedded with fractal codes. This is part of their memory, their records, their codex. Holding it between clawed fingers, he pressed it against his temple. His bioelectric field interfaced with the alien tech. A surge, a flood. Kael gasped. His eyes rolled back, then flared open, shining like miniature suns. I can see it. Lira, I can see everything. She grabbed his hand. What do you see? His voice was almost reverent, almost horrified. The origin of everything. Images poured into his mind, not images like photographs, but holographic constructs of knowledge, compressed into symbols that unfolded into vast histories. A time long before humans, before Earth even cooled from molten rock. The Starborne, a race not of flesh alone, but of energy, vibration, consciousness encoded into biology. They traversed galaxies, seeding life on virgin worlds, not out of benevolence, but as experiments, as tools, as resource farms. Among their creations were the saurids, reptilian apex species designed to adapt, survive, dominate ecosystems. On Earth, the saurids thrived for millions of years. But evolution was uncontrollable. The saurids developed self-awareness. They became too intelligent. They began asking questions, building societies, discovering technology that mirrored and threatened their creators. The response was swift. The Starborne redirected an extinction-level asteroid toward Earth. The KT event. Mass extinction. Erasure. Reset. But not all were destroyed. Some went underground. Others fled or were captured. The genetic legacy of the saurids was hidden, dormant, awaiting reactivation. And then came the humans. Another experiment. Another cycle. Another failure waiting to happen. The Veil was created by rogue Starborne loyalists, a hybrid faction who remained on Earth to manage the contamination. To monitor, manipulate, and, if necessary, terminate. Kael's very existence was a fusion of these broken legacies. A relic of rebellion. A key to a future that should never have existed. Kael exhaled sharply, the glow fading from his eyes. His hands trembled. It's all real. Every ancient myth. Every forbidden truth. He turned to Lira. And you are the descendant of the Starborne themselves. She blinked, stunned. What? You are a carrier of their genetic core. A dilution of it over generations. But it's there. You are the stabilizer, the other half of the genome, the catalyst. Her hands trembled. That's why. I've always felt different. Kael nodded. That's why when we bonded, when you unlocked your latent DNA, my genome stabilized. It was never a flaw in me. It was designed that way. I was never meant to survive without someone like you. The realization hung heavy between them, a thread woven by billions of years of manipulation, rebellion, survival, and now, choice. A sound. Low. Subsonic. Felt more than heard. Kael's pupils narrowed. No, not yet. From the sky, a tear, a literal fracture in space, began to open. Within it, shapes moved. Gigantic silhouettes. Serpentine. Winged. Tall as skyscrapers. Some bore the angular forms of the Greys, tall, thin, with bulbous heads and unblinking eyes. Others were humanoid yet radiant, with luminous skin and crowns of light. The architects had arrived, but not all of them agreed. Some came to observe, others to terminate. A war billions of years in the making was about to reignite. And at the center stood Kael and Lira, the forbidden union, the impossible bond. The future no one, not gods, not monsters, had accounted for. The sky above fractured. Not metaphorically, the air itself split, as though reality had grown thin and fragile under the immense gravitational forces of what was emerging. From the tear in the fabric of space, they came. First, a colossal vessel, shaped like an obsidian monolith, drifted through the breach. Its surface was etched with glowing glyphs, shifting in languages older than planets. Geometric symbols warped into organic forms, then back again, as if the ship itself were alive, thinking, watching. Then came the others, vast entities of flesh, light, and metal. Silhouettes of serpentine creatures coiled through the void, their scales shimmering like molten gold. Behind them, towering humanoid figures, radiant and severe, descended on beams of anti-gravity light. Their faces both beautiful and terrible, crowned with halos of plasma. The architects, the first ones, the Starborne, and among them, the Judicators, the enforcers of cosmic law. Their arrival was not quiet. The ground beneath Kael and Lira trembled. The mountains groaned. Rivers shuddered in their beds. The very planet flinched, like a creature bracing for the predator's bite. A voice, no, a presence, flooded the air. It wasn't heard, it was felt, like a gravitational force pressing against the mind. Entity X-17. Entity Lira Code Carrier. You stand in violation of the Genesis mandate. Cease all activity. Prepare for extraction or termination. Kael's body tensed. His claws extended, trembling not with fear, but with rage. His tail lashed behind him like a whip, scales flaring with iridescent bioelectric light. Lira, his voice was low, steady, lethal. If you run now, I might be able to hold them off long enough. Her hand shot out, grabbing his. No, not again. I'm not running. We fight. Together. He turned, looking down at her. For a moment, amidst the storm of cosmic annihilation gathering above, he smiled. Together. The first blast hit like a meteor strike. A column of antimatter speared down from one of the Judicator vessels, obliterating a mountain 2 kilometers away. The shockwave leveled forests, flipped vehicles, and sent walls of dust rushing towards them. Kael threw himself over Lira, shielding her body with his. His scales absorbed most of it, cracking, fracturing, but held. He stood, body bruised, bleeding, and roared into the sky. A roar not merely of defiance, but of declaration. I will not be erased. Electricity surged around him. The stabilization from his bond with Lira had unlocked deeper layers of his genome. Layers the Starborne had designed, then buried in fear. His muscles thickened. His bones densified. Spines extended from his back, glowing with plasma filaments. He was no longer a hybrid abomination. He was the next step. Lira gasped as her own body shifted. The glyphs that had appeared during their bonding now flared fully, golden patterns tracing her arms, neck, down her spine. From her fingertips, strands of energy uncoiled, living light that wove itself into shields, into weaponry, into wings of refracted reality. She looked at Kael, her eyes no longer simply human, but radiant with fractal light. I know how to fight them. I can feel their systems. I can bend them. Kael grinned, baring sharp teeth. Then let's break some gods. A Judicator descended, 30 feet tall. Its body was a lattice of crystalline armor and quantum foam. Its face bore no features, only a smooth mask pulsing with equations rendered in shifting light. Prepare for dissolution. It raised an arm. A spear of collapsed matter formed, a weapon capable of piercing moons. Kael leapt, intercepting the strike mid-air. His claws met the spear in a shower of plasma. The weapon bent, cracked. Then Lira's hands flared. She unleashed a pulse of reality distortion, hacking the gravitational field around the Judicator. For a moment, its body stretched, then imploded, collapsing into a knot of crushed mass no larger than a pebble. It fell. Gone. Erased. One. Gone. But the others were moving. In the distance, more portals opened. A fleet, thousands of ships. Creatures of bone, silicon, plasma, and antimatter surged through the void cracks. Kael turned to Lira, his chest heaving. This isn't a battle. It's extinction. Her hand closed around his, glowing with impossible energy. Then let's change the rules. A realization dawned between them, sharp as lightning, vast as galaxies. The glyphs on Lira's body weren't just markings. They were activation keys. She was not merely a carrier of Starborne genetics. She was a living failsafe, a backdoor written into the very architecture of the Starborne Empire, a remnant of a rogue faction who once believed that evolution should be free, not controlled. Kael's hybrid DNA was the catalyst. Her Starborne heritage was the key. Together, they could not only survive, they could overwrite the entire system. Lira closed her eyes. Her voice resonated, not through air, but through space-time itself. Protocol override, ESHIVALNAKH. Activate the Codex of Liberation. The glyphs expanded outward. Symbols traced themselves in the sky, fractal, glowing, impossible. The ships above paused. The judicators froze mid-strike. Even the fabric of the portals flickered, destabilizing. Kael felt the energy flood into him. His claws ignited with plasma. His bones vibrated with harmonic frequencies older than the Milky Way. Together, they stood, the hybrid and the descendant. The impossible pair, the rebellion incarnate. Kael, Lira said softly, her fingers intertwining with his. Let's break the universe. The sky was no longer a sky. It was a tapestry of broken physics, rifts of swirling violet, golden fractures in the heavens, black holes no larger than pinpricks devouring light at the edge of perception. Kael and Lira stood at the epicenter of it all. Hand in hand, claw entwined with glowing fingers. Two beings who should not exist. Two anomalies. Two impossibilities. Above them, fleets of the Starborne High Judicators hovered in perfect, silent geometry. Pyramids, spheres, lattices of impossible matter, preparing for the final strike. But the glyphs spinning around Lira, thousands now, told a different story. They were not just symbols. They were command lines. Lines of code not for machines, but for the very fabric of reality itself. Her voice, when it came, was not hers alone. It was an orchestra of voices, hers, Kael's, the memories of every ancestor in her bloodline, and echoes of the rogue Starborne who had written this failsafe into the cosmos. Execute, Codex override. Unlock Protocol Nexus. Authorization, Genesis carriers. The sky screamed. Reality bent. A sphere of cascading fractal light expanded from Lira's body, engulfing her and Kael, then expanding outward faster than light. Wherever it touched, the control matrices of the Starborne shattered like fragile glass. Ships froze mid-air. Beams of antimatter disintegrated before firing. Portals spasmed, stuttering like broken film reels. The judicators tried to react, tried to fire, tried to retreat. Their systems flickered, glitching between dimensions, between states of being. Kael felt it flood into him. Energy, knowledge, power. The hidden layers of his DNA, locked until this very moment, unfolded like blooming stars. New organs activated. Neural lattices wove new pathways. His skin flared with iridescent armor, scales infused with quantum mesh, vibrating in harmony with the Codex itself. He was no longer merely a hybrid. He was something else. A Nexus entity. Kael turned his gaze to the nearest judicator vessel, a sphere half a kilometer wide, bristling with spires of dark matter artillery. He extended one clawed hand. Collapse, he whispered. The sphere twisted in on itself, every atom pulled into a singularity, then unraveled into pure energy, scattering into the cosmos like dust. Lira lifted her arms. Her palms flared with fractal geometry. The glyphs in the air spun faster, forming rings of light. Restore autonomy protocols to all subjugated genomes, she declared. Beneath the earth, in the deep labs of the Veil, containment pods shattered. Tanks filled with hybrids, reptilian, grey, Nordic, insectoid, and things with no names, exploded open. Creatures stumbled free, blinking in confusion as the neural suppressors dissolved. Across the planet, humans with dormant alien ancestry, those who had always felt different, always been haunted by dreams of stars, suddenly awakened. Abilities long sealed surged to life. Empaths, telepaths, telekinetics, biokinetics. Their minds unlocked. Their DNA unfolded. A new species was born, not of the Starborne's design, but of rebellion against them. Above, the fleets disintegrated. Some judicators simply vanished, erased from timelines as their own code was revoked. Others imploded, writhing as their control matrices unraveled. Kael turned, locking eyes with Lira, both of them breathing heavily, their bodies glowing like stars compressed into flesh. "It's working," Lira gasped. "Kael, we're freeing everything." But even as the Judicator fleets collapsed, the rift in the sky grew. Something older was waking. Something behind the architects. The prime architects. The ones who had seeded not just galaxies, but the laws of physics themselves. Their presence was a gravitational wound in space-time. Their silhouettes, vast beyond comprehension, loomed at the edges of the cosmos. Colossal fractal forms, each limb the size of solar systems. Their minds were dark wells of logic so cold, so vast, that the concept of life was irrelevant to them. And now, they had noticed the breach. Kael looked at Lira. His chest rose and fell, breath ragged. His claws trembled, not from weakness, but from the scale of what loomed. "Lira," his voice was a rumble. "We can stop it, but only if we go further." Her pupils dilated, glowing. "You mean, activate the final sequence?" He nodded. "Merge. Fully. Not just stabilize, but become one entity. One consciousness. A nexus point." She stared, her heart hammered. Not in fear, but in awe. "Kael, if we do that, we won't be ourselves anymore." His hand cupped her face, clawed, scaled, but infinitely gentle. "We'll be something more. And if we survive, we'll rebuild everything. Together." A long silence. Then Lira smiled, wide, radiant, fearless. "Let's break the universe and build a better one." Their bodies fused, not flesh alone, but energy, consciousness, DNA folding into quantum lattices, weaving a single being of impossible complexity. The glyphs spun one final time. A single word echoed through the fabric of reality. "Execute, Exodus Protocol." A wave of fractal energy exploded outward, not as destruction, but as transformation. Laws of physics rewrote themselves. Gravity inverted. Time fractured and healed. Biological constraints dissolved. The rift sealed. The prime architects blinked. Not in defeat, but in curiosity. In surprise. In something they had not felt since the beginning of time. For the first time, they chose not to intervene. And so the universe rebooted. Somewhere, far from where it all began, a new world spun beneath a gold and violet sun. On a hill of crystalline grass, two figures stood, one tall, scaled, reptilian humanoid, but with glowing fractal patterns along his skin. The other, radiant, humanoid, crowned in golden glyphs that shifted like language made from light. Kael, Lira, or what they had become. He looked at her, his clawed hand brushing her cheek. "So, what do we do now?" She grinned. "We build. A world where none of this ever happens again. A world for everyone who was ever told they were too different, too wrong, too broken." Above them, the stars burned brighter. A new universe, a new Genesis, and at its center, a love that rewrote the cosmos itself. The end.